Hello, everybody. This is Fernando for the latest Godzilla on This Day podcast. Well, for this entry, I decided to pick one involving music hits, something that was one of those one-hit wonders that came out over a little over 20 years ago. And it got me interested because I wanted to be able to then talk about some of the other one-hit wonders and then focus and see like whatever, happened to those, what happens essentially, along with some history on the sick money that some of these people make when it comes to their one-hit wonders. And it has to do with this. On this day, back in 1996, the Macarena came out and debuted in the US. So here's all the interesting information associated with this very popular song. I'm sure you've heard of the Macarena. Even those of you born a little bit later in the 2000s, you know of this song because it's one of those things where it was very, very popular and then it died down and then it becomes popular again and then it dies down and it becomes popular. Each new generation essentially comes across it and then they hear it and then it is catchy, and then when they really hear it they pass it along to others and it just goes from there. But yes, here's the history associated with the Macarena. I did not know some of this information. It was apparently a hit overseas in one of the Spanish countries. Not too much of a hit, but it was just all right. Like it was just there, it came and it went essentially. And then here in the US there was a station in Florida. One of the DJs there wanted to play that song because his station, I guess, was primarily geared towards Spanish customers, but the radio host, or I'm sorry, the producer there stated that no, they're not going to play it because it's completely in Spanish. That's not their thing. And so one of the set of DJs there decided to remix it. If you've ever heard of the Macarena and the most popular version, of course, the one that played on all the music channels and so forth, that one, if you ever wonder like why it says a remix, it's because of that. Those two DJs took that song, incorporated a bunch of English lyrics, and then also changed the beat of it a little more so that way it could be more club friendly, which was a perfect mix. Then it went through the cycle of the very popular music video, which showcased the two Spanish singers. Those guys apparently have been around for a long time, since the 60s. In fact, with their group, it was originally a lady named something else, but one of the guys decided to dedicate that song and call it Magdalena, and that was his version of a dedication to her. But when it was changed by the DJs to here in the US, it was the Macarena. So that's where you get to that very same notion. If you ever wonder why there's also some Spanish lyrics still within it, it's because even though the DJs mixed a bunch of English verses in it, they decided to keep some of the Spanish parts within it. And lo and behold, once it came in and it debuted on that radio station, on that one single radio station, it was a smash hit. It was just pretty much played around the clock, and then almost like a viral song, it just took off afterward. It played throughout the entire US thereafter. I think it spent a little over, 30 weeks or so in the top 100. That's almost a full year. I mean, it's insane how long, or was it 60 weeks? One of those two, 30 or 60 weeks within the top 100, the Billboard top 100 singles. So that is a phenomenal trait. The music video was perfect too, because not only was the song catchy, but it introduced that dance that everybody started to do. Kind of like that Gangnam Style song, the one that came and went a couple of years back. Same thing here. This was the one that introduced it. As long as you have a catchy song with some verses that are instantly something that'll get people hooked on, and then you have a dance as the very last thing, then that is a perfect trifecta of a hit single. So that's the history associated with the Macarena. I'm sure that there are, to this day, people that love it, other people that hate it. I didn't mind it so much. It's a catchy song, but I wasn't like infatuated with it or trying to mimic the dance. Although every time, like in a Comic-Con, every now and then when there's a DJ there and they play the Macarena, people do the song. Like they'll do it in unison all together. It's amazing that to this day they still have it memorized. And yes, it did bring me my attention to some of the other one-hit wonders out there. Like I mentioned, the Gangnam Style song. That one there, I mean, it's just crazy how much, I think it still holds one of the highest records for the fastest or most, not views on YouTube, but the fastest amount of views to get to a certain milestone, something like that. And I was reading that, like, how much money that guy was making from that music video, and it was something like 15,000 a day. It was just insanity considering how many views that video got afterward. It reminded me too of, if you've ever heard the song Sheryl Crow's "All I Want to Do." Beautiful song. She's not a one-hit wonder, but it brings me back to the idea of how much money these people make. So anybody that produces the song gets a good money. Anybody that writes the song also gets a good amount of money, because the guy that wrote some of the verses, because the "All I Want to Do" song came from a poem that some guy wrote. I can't even remember his name, but it came from a poem that he wrote. And so when that poem was used as part of the lyrics in the song, he was able to get some profits from it. And it was insane, because this poem was written years back, then it was borrowed for this song. And I was reading an article one time on it, and it was just insane. He was making just like 50,000 a month, something like that. And this was back then in the 90s, in terms of how much money he was getting, just because that one song was being played over and over and over on the radio station. So think of that. Next time you hear like a Katy Perry song that gets played ad nauseum, like here in Vegas right now, I'm listening outside, and there is that song, that Roar song that just plays ad nauseum at the casinos, then that'll give you an idea of how much money these music stars make. So it's either a feast or famine, because a lot of people will be starving in the music industry, and then those that make it just get it's just a crazy amount of money. But that's it on this day in history. The Macarena was introduced to the world. Love it, hate it, it still definitely made its mark within the music industry. All right, everybody, thanks again as always. Take care.